Paul and Maria, we're going to zoom out just a little bit here. This actually used to be the grandstand for the off-road track here at Lucas Oil Speedway. You can see it's a really mangled and just tangled up mess. Now, we're also going to walk over here because I want to show you just how large these pieces of metal were on this roof. I mean, look at this. If you compare me to the size of it, this thing is massive. Even though they were a little bit shaken up over this, they are okay. Now, I want to step out of the way so that way, yeah, you guys can get a look at the damage in this home. A Springfield family is still searching for answers after their son disappeared in Sacramento on New Year's Eve. I just got off the phone with Springfield police just a little bit ago, confirming that, yes, they did take a 27-year-old man into custody in connection with that fatal shooting last night. Another jump with nearly 1,500 new cases of COVID-19 reported in just 24 hours. This also pushes the state's total past that 50,000 mark.
Now, Lexi's got gas. Prices. I just had to do that, sorry.
People needed that laugh on a Monday. It's okay. I can appreciate that. But yes, we are taking a look at those Monday morning gas prices. I am all about gas season right now. Honestly, the scariest part was getting up here. This is very strong. I really underestimated it. So you pat on the water and then, oh, you can pet them like that. They are kind of like a slimy pancake is how we've been describing it. Each of these bowls probably weighs about 2,000 pounds, and he's kind of trying to eat my leg here. But the crowd has really amped up and grown so much since we started our show this morning. And I have some great fans here. Thank you guys so much for joining us. They're coming from Maryville, Missouri. This academic year, more than 26,000 students attended Missouri State University. The school has also seen a 6,000 student increase since 2001. So why isn't the amount of state funding reflecting this growth?
First is that state appropriations has decreased for all of the universities in Missouri. Last year, appropriations decreased by, I think, about 2% for everyone. The year before that, it was more like 9% for everyone.
Cliff Smart, the Missouri State president, posted about the issue online, explaining that because the state appropriations are in uniform for all universities and don't take into account the shrinking or growing of student populations, MSU needs a $39.8 million appropriation increase to just meet the state average. When asked about a solution, Smart says there are several options on the table that would level the playing field for all Missouri colleges. First is a performance funding piece.
You get money based on doing well, graduating students, having your students be employed in the workforce, etc.
Next is an equity component.
That would help those universities that have grown while others have either stayed stagnant or shrunk. We would benefit from that.
Smart says the governor is also looking at workforce development programs and how those can be better funded.
Through all three of those mechanisms, we began catching up in terms of our funding per student.
Nothing is official yet since the legislative session just started, and the state's budget still needs to be reviewed and then approved by the House and the Senate. But Smart says he is staying positive.
I know, there's kind of a fairness issue here, and a lot of our legislators are very sympathetic and understand that we do need to be trued up as a result of our growth so that we can continue to do the important work that universities do.
The governor is expected to start reviewing the state budget next week. Reporting in Springfield, I'm Lexi Spivak. This is what a fifth grade science class looks like at JTSD Elementary School. It's a little loud and rowdy. But every Monday around 11:30, things quiet down.
She has bilateral sensory neural, and so it's the nerves in her ear.
Emily McGarry's daughter, Ella, is losing her hearing, just like she did when she was a child.
I struggled, through school, and I just wanted something different for her.
That's where the idea for Silent Lunch came from.
One of my students is hard of hearing, and she needs to learn a lot more sign.
Silent Lunch is a separate lunch group for Ella and her classmates to learn sign language as a team. Chris Wilson, Ella's teacher, uses sign language as much as he can throughout the entire school day.
We try really hard to make sure that we're practicing that ASL.
Wilson says he is no expert or professional. He just saw a student with a need, and instead of fulfilling that need for just Ella, he made it so the whole class could work and learn together.
I was able to find a way to incorporate it in class so that we're all doing it. And that to me seems like that's what life should be like. That's how kids should learn and do things. So I think that makes for a better classroom when everyone's included.
This year alone, 21 children have died in the United States after being left in hot cars, and we're only halfway through July. Springfield's EMS team say this puts us on track to break last year's record, a tragic 52 deaths. To demonstrate how quickly things heat up, I hopped in a car myself with EMS crews tracking my heart rate, oxygen rate, breathing rate, and body temperature.
Anything over 120 and farther than that, we definitely, especially over 150, we definitely start to get concerned.
When we started, it was noon and already in the mid-90s, but in our station car, it had already gotten up to more than 100 degrees, and it wasn't long before my body tried to cool itself down.
She's currently starting to get up into the 110s. Was at 112. Blood pressure is actually increased just a little bit. She's taking much deeper breaths.
In addition to the monitor showing them all my stats, they also kept a close eye on my behavior and physical traits.
Just her presentation. You can tell she's obviously quite uncomfortable. She's been in there for 5 minutes and 40 seconds, and the temperature is currently 115 degrees inside right now.
While my heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing rate fluctuated over the next 10 minutes, the temperature was only headed in one direction. It's 120 in here right now. Fast forward to the 17-minute mark, I call it quits. Temperature is 127.4. Yes, I struggled, but will ultimately be okay thanks to the professional supervision. However, Field Supervisor Grant Trimble reminds everyone it's a whole different story for the little ones in the back seat.
With an adult, our body can tolerate the heat better than a child. They're not able to regulate their body temperature as well as adults can.
Trimble begs everyone to look before they lock and call police if you see a child or anyone trapped in a hot car. And we want to get right to it. All that rain. Meteorologist Robert Hahn is here tonight with our first forecast. All right, thank you, Robert. Looking forward to it. Firefighters in Ash Grove say the pandemic had an impact on their call numbers in 2020. Up until recently, the Ash Grove Fire Protection District shifted the types of calls that they would respond to. The fire district was only assisting during critical emergencies for several months throughout the pandemic. Fire Chief Anthony Monig says his firefighters did not assist low priority ambulance calls. Monig says the changes were to minimize exposure and contact for both firefighters and patients. He says the number of responses in 2020 would have been much higher had it been a, quote, normal year. Douglas County authorities arrested an Ava man wanted on multiple warrants. Donnie Brown was arrested during a traffic stop near Highway 76 and Highway 95 in Douglas County. The sheriff's office tells us Brown had a warrant out of Ozark County for abuse or neglect of a child and another warrant out of Christian County for 2 charges of non-support. While deputies searched his car, they found 2 small bags, one which tested positive for meth and the other filled with an unknown substance. Governor Mike Parson proposed transforming a closed Missouri prison into a training center for new correctional officers. Initial reports showed it cost about $670,000 to convert the Crossroads Correctional Center into the new facility. It's located just east of St. Joseph, Missouri. The goal is to give the would-be prison guards more realistic experience. Currently, the state has 3 training academies, but those facilities could be consolidated if this project is approved. And a lot of people are posting pictures of their COVID-19 vaccination cards on social media. The Better Business Bureau says this is dangerous because it could make it easier for thieves to steal your identity. Your card has your full name and birth date, along with information about where you got your vaccine. They recommend making sure your social media privacy settings are set high. Emily Goddard of Springfield works in healthcare and was vaccinated back in December. She says she posted her card on social media because she was excited.
I posted it and you're part of history. Crazy to be part of this. It's like Facebook already has your name, and then there's people posting about your birthday on your birthday. So like anyone can get your information just from Facebook.
BBB experts also say they're worried about scammers recreating vaccination cards and selling fake ones. They say scammers in Great Britain were caught doing that already on eBay and TikTok. Some people may notice hair loss months after recovering from COVID-19. Some people experience this after a shock to their system, whether that be a serious illness or trauma. Usually the hair loss will start about 2 or 3 months after that shock to the system. Dr. Mike Swan says people of all age groups can be impacted by this, but he usually sees complaints from younger people because it's out of the norm, whereas older people, hair loss can be more common.
The virus is not going to your hair and causing the hair loss. It's working through your body's own immune system, most likely. And so there are ways that you can kind of calm that down and turn that off. And honestly, good sleep cycles, using anti-inflammatories. We often do use prescription anti-inflammatories on the scalp.
Swan says your hair should go back to normal on its own within a few months when your stress on your body decreases. High schoolers in Springfield Public Schools are headed back to classrooms 4 days a week starting Monday. This is parents asking when their kids could get the vaccine. Research shows a majority of kids who test positive for COVID-19 only show mild symptoms unless they have an underlying health condition. This means doctors think most kids won't be able to get the vaccine until it's publicly available. Caroline Campbell, a pediatrician with Mercy Kids in Lebanon, says while it's uncommon for them to treat children with COVID, there is one extra step parents can take to keep their children safe. All right, and for an easy fix of vitamin D, 15 minutes outside can do the trick.